Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. The most shocking thing about this movie is like the titular flight of the Navigator is about 25 minutes and they fly are kind of around the world.
Yeah, that's
like they fly around taking stock footage.
It feels like they're prepping for the inevitable Disney ride they thought would be
it's just a Disney ride. It's just a Questar ride.
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Flight of the Navigator.
Flight of the Navigator. The Navigator.
And a big eye was there, too.
Big eye named Max, who you don't realize is Pee Wee Herman until they make him do the Pee Wee Herman voice.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that shit.
I have been sent from Phaelon to borrow samples of light from different galaxies for study. On this planet, I chose you.
Why me?
Why not?
Before we get started, big old thank you to Vincent.
Thank you.
Our Patreon producer who had us watch Flight of the Navigator, a movie I didn't need anybody to have me watch, but thank you, Vincent.
Yeah.
I grew up on this movie. Did you?
Yeah, I've seen this one a bunch of times. But it's one of those ones that I never really remember that well.
Same. So I watched this movie obsessively and then not at all for
about 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched it.
Oh,
I
God,
rewatched
30,
it.
You're right.
Yeah,
Jesus.
It's been 30. I rewatched it recently, and I say recently 8 years ago.
Right.
For today's topic that you can, for crack that you can find on YouTube.
People should find. What's it called, Tom?
I think it's called like Why Every Alien Wants to Eat Us, or Why Every Movie Alien Wants to Eat Us, even E.T.
It's great. I don't want to spoil it, but it's one of those observations that's like, it starts like it's clear that you knew that like some of this has merit, but not enough of it does. So you had to work a reason.
It's so funny going back and looking at it now because it's just jokes mostly. But like back then, we had such a mandate of like, no, it has to be like a real observation that's backed up with evidence that's actually from the text of the film.
Right.
So I do that a little bit at first, but then like the rest of it is just jokes, and it's fun. Anyway, it's just funny looking back at Cracked because we got such a reputation of being like, you're gonna laugh and learn something. The audience actually got mad when we would do stuff that was just jokes.
That was just jokes. They did. Yeah. They'd be like, what the fuck is this?
So, like,
it's a sketch.
Yeah, the video is just... Yeah. The video is I'm a maniac, is what the video is. Like halfway through the sketch, you're like, oh, yeah, this is not real. He's making this up.
Yeah.
That's so funny that we couldn't just do jokes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was our brand.
I know, yeah. But you remember when Cody wrote an entire, like, Goosebumps song?
Yeah, and like the Dave Matthews song.
Yeah.
And they didn't like Cody at first because he would try to do pure jokes.
Right, and they would come in like with a Goosebumps song. I remember that he got some comments from people that were like, this is some lazy crap. I was like, lazy? He wrote a song.
Oh, man.
That takes time, man. He made a video. He made a music video. Anyway. It's just
cracked.
It's funny.
They also
we couldn't do jokes, and I don't know. It's just funny that we do mostly jokes now.
It also this is a rant, but like it's also funny how even earlier internet, nobody liked things being called Nazis. I noticed, which very relevant today. But I remember ATB Adam, his Ace of Base are Nazis. got so much people like, this is a stretch. And I only remember that because it was like the same week I did Muppets Caused 9/11.
Yeah.
And I remember all the comments for that was like, this is perfect. This works so well. And I'm like, this is bullshit, you guys. I'm making shit up.
Yeah, whereas Ace of Base is like literally singing about white supremacy.
Yeah, one of their guitarists was like literally in a Nazi band.
He's a Nazi. Like they're a Nazi band.
I think the difference is the Nazi, saying something's a Nazi.
I don't like that. Oh, we don't know. We don't have all the evidence in. We're getting sidetracked.
We are. But it's Flight of the Navigator, a movie about, I guess, getting sidetracked. No, it's about, they get sidetracked in this. So in a way, our sidetrack was spot on. The point is that, here's my hot take for Flight of the Navigator. Mm-hmm. I'll just whip it out. I'll slap it on the table right now. I grew up with this film. I love this film. I find it creepy too, and we'll talk about it.
It's insanely creepy, but continue your thought.
Yes, it's creepy in a way that's like modern. I think it's ahead of its time in some way. I think it's very unique.
It's ahead of its time in creepiness, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think conceptually, it's like fucking Interstellar.
The main conceit of the film is Interstellar. Yeah.
Yeah. I do not think this is a classic or that young people would give a shit about it or should. And the reason why is I think that it is fundamentally flawed in terms of its narrative. As you already sort of pointed out, the movie is mostly a kid going around the world once for 20 minutes at the end of the movie.
Yes. We don't meet the alien until Act 3.
Yes, there are no stakes, really. There are stakes, but they're kind of vague. The only,
they're existential, and it's not like a stake so much as a tragedy, because you don't know he can reclaim the 10 years that he's lost.
Right. And then they try to hastily add stakes at the end because he's like, oh yeah, we can go back in time, but it's very risky. And I'm like, risky how?
Risky for who? They never, right. He has a mini bar full of creatures that he's just taking around with him. It's like, well, they can all survive it, but it'll be too dangerous for you. I'm like, really? The little 2-armed creature that's the size of a purse can withstand time travel, but I can't?
The sick goo? Yeah.
The goo, the snot bubble with a cold?
Yeah. So they don't
the giant eye?
Yeah, the fucking eye. That thing creeped me out so much.
There's a giant somewhere in that spaceship, Dave.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, I thought it was just an eye.
No, I think it's connected to a giant face.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, they can't, it's not good enough to just say there are risks. It's like you have to show the risks, I have to feel the risks. At no point do I feel tense. Like the ending, which is like, we have to get me home. And I'm like, okay. How do we find them? He has to get off the fireworks, but there's no ticking clock there. It's not like the end of Back to the Future, right? Where you're like, oh, fuck.
No,
you have to do this right when the lightning strikes. They're just doing stuff, and they're trying to act like it's urgent. But it's like there's no urgency.
It's and then this happens. Like there's no... This movie is trying to be Star Wars, E.T., and Back to the Future at the same time.
It is.
Also, this movie is a big celebration of NASA. This is like clearly made in the middle of the not the space race, but like the space shuttle program in the 80s. You know where I'm going with this, so hang on.
Yeah, it isn't. It isn't.
Hang on. You know where I'm going with this.
All right.
So it's made in the middle of like the space shuttle program in America, which was huge. They really pushed it towards kids. This is the decade when every kid had a space shuttle poster on their wall and NASA t-shirts and stuff. They're really pushing NASA in this film. It was released 9 months after the Challenger exploded on live television.
Hey-o. Not great.
Tough year to sell this film.
That's not actually where I was going with it. It's like, no, you're right.
I thought that's where you were going with it.
The Challenger is
this delightful movie of youthful discovery and wonder around science and the limitless possibilities of NASA was released in the year that NASA blew up a teacher in front of us all with their hubris.
Yeah, with their hubris.
They killed 7 people in front of the world with their hubris.
Incredible. Oh, man. What a thing to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the joke. That was like the hot the hot monologue joke was, what does NASA stand for? It needs another 7 astronauts.
Oh, damn.
Ba-dum-bum-bum.
Ba-dum-bum. I mean, yeah, it really is like man's hubris there.
It was the
Also,
worst
for people who
fucking
don't
year
know,
to put this movie out. Sorry.
yeah. For people that don't know, they originally tried to have Big Bird on the Challenger.
Yes.
Which would have been incredible. An incredible fucking... Like, imagine killing Big Bird. But, I mean, listen, killing all those other people was bad. Don't get me wrong.
Not just killing Big Bird. Killing Big Bird in what is in character in what is probably the most historic accident, right? There's nothing more like a spaceship exploding on worldwide television.
Yeah. Did you ever see the Onion article? School teacher kitten 3 dozen orphans to fly on Challenger tomorrow. It's that, where it's like, how could it be any fucking worse?
Right. It's
Big Bird would make it worse.
You also, I mean, everybody should watch the Netflix documentary on the Challenger. It really is like, it's almost that asshole who made his own submarine and killed everybody on board. Like it's like a series of people being like, this is a huge problem, and NASA being like, Yeah. It's a real Chernobyl sitch where it wasn't just like a freak accident. It was a lot of neglect that caused this. That's why we say they killed them with hubris. Anyway, we will get to Flight of the Navigator eventually.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so the other thing is that the other thing this movie marks for me, because NASA sure looks like a Hollywood backlot, is that this
sure does.
Well, this is the era where Florida was like, we can be Hollywood too.
Yeah. This is when they built in the 70s, right? Disney World.
Yeah.
So this is right after, this is like 10 years after Disney bought all this land in Florida.
Yeah. Historically, Hollywood was the first Hollywood, but that's a whole different story. They had to move to get away from Edison. Doesn't matter.
Right, they had to move to get away from Edison.
It was cheap this is also the era of like...
It was the desert. Anyway.
Yeah, so they're like Florida, NASA. What's funny about that is NASA is kind of the bad guys, and this is why the stakes are a problem, because they don't want to be the bad guys, but they make them like lightly kidnap the child.
They are the bad
guys. Like a soft kid. Yeah.
Yeah, they lie to the parents.
NASA
great? They lock him in his room only to then literally 15 seconds later have an unannounced bulking Hercules robot smash into his room with no preamble or setup. They haven't told him he has a robot butler. They just lock him in this room, and then 10 seconds, he settles in to watch TV, and then the door explodes open, and this robot is like, I'm here with your mail. The fuck?
Ignore me. It's a very convenient escape robot, so like maybe don't give him that. I wrote, this is Mulder's dream, this movie.
Yeah.
To be at NASA, being the most important person with a robot butler and a Sarah Jessica Parker.
This is the short story that Mulder submitted for every creative writing assignment throughout his entire school career. Yeah, he just kept 100%. Using the same story, and then I mean, that's why the kid's name is David. Dave.
Yeah, you're right.
Then I ride inside this robot into the hangar where there's a UFO that will respond only to me. The UFO design is cool. I like that it opens like liquid. That's a fucking cool idea.
This UFO design is probably the most timeless or like classic part of this.
It's the most forward-thinking one. Like it talks about its anti-gravity. Like they touch it and it moves. So it's like really working with that like 0-point gravity field. You can see through it. It like works like water. It has so many cool ideas that we didn't really see again in pop science fiction for a while.
This movie, to me, it's like if Carl Sagan or like Michael Crichton wrote a kids movie,
right?
And that's like both the cool thing about it and its problem.
It's the problem, right?
Yeah,
it's like they got a real legit egghead for the spaceship, and then nothing else. Like that's the only.
And
that's
the time dilation,
right? It's like,
that's the thing. Is like it's like Contact, but for kids.
It's a crappy movie that they for some reason got like a legit consultant on.
Yeah, who blew his load on this movie and was like, I've been wanting to.
Well, we want the science to be real.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah, because the premise, for people who don't know, it's 1978. A kid goes out in the woods to find his shitty brother. He has a dog who sucks.
A kid who hates the shit out of everyone in his family. I have over 1,000 words of notes on this. Like just right off the bat, I don't know how to explain this, but the kid's dog looks like it's been to prison.
His dog, it's the anatomy of a fall dog.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And his brother calls the dog
Same
the
dog.
R
He was
word.
kidnapped by aliens, and time dilation returned him to us. That's why he hasn't aged.
Yeah. No, his dog sucks. He can't. He's like, I'm going to teach him real hard. He's at a dog show lamenting how his dog
He's at
sucks.
the Dog Olympics. All right.
Yes.
The movie starts at the Dog Olympics.
Weird.
This. The opening of this film, like his prison dog loses the Dog Olympics. His brother is ripping on him. Like his brother's a sociopath.
Calls him the R word. He calls him the R word. The dog.
The ableist R word straight away because it's 1986. They drop his little brother off at his friend's house where his brother's friend is wearing nothing but a tiny pair of shorts, and he's posing like Sting in Dune.
It was the 80s. I get it. Or the 70s, I guess, in this case. But
and then his brother gallops out of the car and runs up to his barely clad Sting friend and then shakes his own barely clad booty at his brother. To which his brother makes an impassioned threat to murder him before his 9th birthday. We are in the 4th minute of a Walt Disney production. This has been limitless material for child predators to masturbate to.
Well, they're like, yeah, man.
There's so shocking how many scantily clad little children there are in the opening of this film.
Yes. And they act like they're like 40. The main character says, I wrote down this line because it was nuts. He says to his dog on his way home, he says, I don't know what I want out of life anymore.
Yep.
Which I was like, are you retired?
Down. Yeah, I have that written down.
Yeah.
But before that, there's so many things I want to call out. So as they're driving home, they pull up to the house after, like, he's been fighting with his brother the entire afternoon. Like, they're all in a bad mood because he lost the Dog Olympics. The two brothers were in a fight. So there's, like, this tense mood in the family station wagon. But as they drive up and the car shuts off, we can hear that they were listening to the Grease soundtrack.
Well, it's the director of Grease.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, this family is in a tense car ride home after losing the Dog Olympics, and they're just quietly listening to the Grease soundtrack while this wound festers.
Yeah, so now I want to talk about the tone, because it's very evident at this point.
Movie.
So I don't want to call it Lynchian. It's something that someone would call Lynchian, but it isn't. It's more like Jordan Peele, like the begin. I don't even know if Jordan Peele's the right.
It's surreal. It's unintentionally surreal because it keeps having its people behave in irrational ways, and like I don't know. It's like deleting steps out of processes. So it's like
this.
It's weird.
It's like this vibe of like something's wrong.
Yeah.
So it starts with this quiet disc, and it felt like Nope, where it's like a quiet UFO gliding, and it turns out to be a frisbee. And then after the dog show, there's a scene where a blimp goes over, and you hear the sound of it first. It's like,
and everybody's afraid of
shadow. And everybody's afraid of it, and they look up, and the blimp is over them, and it's like, and then it hard cuts away to the car.
Right.
And that's like a modern horror scene where like showing that everything's a little off. Like everything feels a little off.
Yeah.
Where you're like, are they already like in the Matrix?
Right. Everything already feels a little bit like the
it's ominous
Cheddar Goblin commercial.
Yeah. Everything. Yeah. You just get this feeling like bad things are going to happen.
This is wrong. There's something wrong here.
Yeah. The kid runs off into the woods to get his brother, and basically he runs off. He finds a cavern.
Well, hold on.
He goes home.
One thing happens before that I need to talk about, and then I promise I'll stop interrupting you. So David is spying on that girl in her sailboat with his telescope.
Oh, yeah.
Then his dad walks in and is like, "What are you doing? You looking at the boats?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm looking at the boats." And then comes over and looks through the telescope and sees that he's been looking at this girl in the sailboat. So the girl in the sailboat looks up at them while that's happening and sees a 38-year-old man looking at her through a telescope.
You're right. That is what she sees. Whee! Get used to it. Get used to it, girl. Doesn't get easier. I assumed she was going to be Sarah Jessica Parker. Did they cut that out? I just assumed they were going to do this thing.
Yeah. I never made that connection, but you're right.
She later,
I think they probably cut that out because it was too weird. This movie was already...
There's a lot of
this
pedophile shit.
Right. This movie is already very sexually creepy with its kids.
Yeah, because Sarah Jessica Parker creeps on the child.
Yep.
And goes like, you're cute, which is like a thing that teenage girls would do in these movies, but was always like weird because they were like, see, this little boy may have a shot with this teenage girl.
Young, and she's too old.
Yeah.
Like if he was 14 and she was 16, you'd be like, all right, I could see like...
Right. But
he's 12 and she's
he's like
18.
In her 20s. Yeah. She has a job at NASA.
Yeah.
She presumably went to college.
Right. I have that written down. It's like they randomly have bubblegum teen Sarah Jessica Parker working at NASA. Like her first scene, she literally walks in with purple hair. They
Doogie Howser. That's the only way to explain it.
She just looks like Tiffany. Like the pop star Tiffany.
Yeah.
Like that's clearly what they were. They were clearly dressing her up to look like an it girl from 1986, but it's like she's supposed to be working at NASA and she's like a mall teenager.
This was definitely a movie where people just kept throwing shit into the stew.
Yes, everything happens and none of it needs to make any kind of sense. That's why I said it feels so surreal. Yeah,
she's unnecessary to the plot.
Yeah.
But I think here's what I think happened in the writing stage, because this has like 3 writers. I think at some point someone said we should do a bunch of bits where it's like we want to be like Back to the Future, right? So they're like, let's do a bunch of bits where the kids like, whoa, the 80s is weird. And then they're like, okay, who shows them the 80s at NASA? The scientists? No, god damn it. We need like a cool hip teen to show him what the 80s are like. So they just invented this character that just works at NASA. They're like, what if a teenage girl works at NASA and then she can show him music videos and stuff and talk to him about Coke? And they're like, yeah, I fucking guess. Yeah, let's do it. Who gives a shit? This was the era where they're looking at stuff like Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And they're so nihilistic where they're like, I guess nothing fucking matters because they don't understand, I assume. Because this happens all the time with studios.
It's the same thing. Like I said at the time, they're just trying to make E.T., Back to the Future, and Star Wars at the same time.
Right.
We've said it over and over again. They always
without
learn
understanding, I think, that those were just good stories.
Right. They never learn the right lesson. They think it's time travel or an alien buddy, and not the fact that no, it was that story.
Right.
Like those were elements of that story, but it was that story specifically.
Yeah. Again, I love this fucking movie, but this is a movie that if it came out today, people would go, "Is this AI? Is this an AI movie?"
Because we've been writing movies like this for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's algorithms are nothing new. It's just anyway.
Oh yeah, I would argue if it was an AI movie, it'd be more mediocre. But yes, like
it would be. It would, like the spaceship would operate on wishes or something. It would. I don't know.
Yeah. So the kid basically goes to this ravine, comes home, and finds his house. His parents aren't there anymore, and he's aged like 10 years. Is it 8 years? I don't know.
8 years, yeah, but
we
round up at this age.
I remembered this happening in like the halfway point. I didn't realize it was the opening offer of this movie, and that is a crazy fucking starting point. This existential nightmare of like, oh my god.
And it lasts...
I was gone for 8 years.
It lasts an hour.
Yeah. Then he's kidnapped by the shadow government because his brain is bleeping out fucking spaceship designs. We learn that he was the alien, which I guess is supposed to be good, but I don't think this alien's good at all. Kidnapped this child.
Yes.
Erased his memory and loaded his brain.
His brain with star charts.
Yeah. And then so like then he calls to him. He calls to him it's really an X-Files episode. Like you can imagine the kid.
Dave, I have Brightburn written down.
Yeah.
Because he's laying down in his NASA bed and he hears a horrible alien voice like, "Get up, walk, the time is now." I'm like, oh, they're activating him. He's gonna colonize the planet now.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
Again, you can see this being an X-Files episode. Like the opening thing is a kid who disappears is back and he's the same age. You can see the moment where his brain makes the ship. You could see these beats like that would be in an X-Files episode, but creepy.
I have so much written down that doesn't really tie to a theme or something. We're going to have to do just like a grab bag at the end.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we don't have to explain the whole movie, too.
Because I have shit like the doctor says, here's a special gift just for you, and hands him a shitty little velour NASA cap while he is standing in a sea of Transformers.
You're right.
It's like they walk him into his room. It's loaded with toys and shit. And then he goes like, and here's a special prize just for you. And it's a shitty little NASA hat.
Right,
Again,
and it's like,
the year the Challenger exploded.
It's funny because like I imagine the narrative is there like we went out, we got him all these toys, and then the one guy's like, I didn't get him anything. Fuck, where's the gift shop?
That explains
and like
why
gets
he
him
has
the
like
one thing that's easily gettable and
right. It's a NASA hat.
Yeah.
Mulder that's how you can tell that Mulder wrote it, is because he wrote the NASA hat in like it was the Red Ryder BB gun, like it was going to be the piece de resistance. Yeah. Mulder didn't know about Transformers when he was a kid. That would have really captive. Transformers would have ruined Mulder.
Oh, he wouldn't have
been able to be around machines anymore. He would think every single one was an alien. If you told Mulder that there was a secret race of aliens that disguised themselves as cars, that would ruin his life.
Yeah. Oh, he'd never be the same.
Can't tell Mulder about Transformers.
No.
I have something that I just had to say. Like when he falls down the ravine and knocks himself out into the future. He runs home to his house and walks in on these two old people who are clearly about to fuck. Like, did you notice that? The old couple, like they're both wearing robes. They both have a cocktail. When he barges in on them.
Holy shit.
They have a fish tank in their stairwell. The only houses that have fish tanks in the stairwell.
That's a cocaine house.
There's a lot of sex mist.
Yeah.
The air of that fog is thick.
This movie's weirdly horny in all the wrong ways.
Yeah. Really uncomfortable ways.
Yeah. Man, god damn it. So yeah, he gets called to the ship. They have I liked their relationship. I liked how him going compliance and like the back and forth, him taking things literally.
See, there's a thing. I think another one of this movie's big problems is it doesn't understand people,
right?
Like, because David is like it starts from the starting place of little brothers fight, like siblings fight,
right? But
that's the only thing they thought of. So David is just a bickering kid to everyone he speaks to. So his relationship with Max the alien is just them constantly being irritated with each other and hurling insults at each other. And that was humor in 1986. That was like what comedy for children was in 1986. And it's so
Pee-wee voice.
Well, yeah. But it's so off-putting now because it's so coarse and caustic and it's not friendly. And it's just like, Jesus Christ. It's like you got an alien abducted an asshole kid and learned how to be an asshole from him.
Yeah.
It's so grating. Like the movie is very grating in that way because he behaves that way with his family too. So it's it's not until the very, very end of the movie. It's no kidding. Like the last 2 sentences of the movie where he looks at his little brother and says, I love you too. And his brother's like stunned and his family kind of reacts like, oh, that was nice. That is the only time he shows his family any affection. Like
the only reason he learns that is because of the time travel, because he essentially almost loses his childhood. That's it. I have a question. I thought maybe I missed this. Why does the computer start talking like Pee Wee Herman?
I don't know. He tells him he needs to laugh.
Well, I figured that like he said something like download humor or something like that because he starts doing stuff like he makes Star Trek references and
he mind melds with the kid, right? Because he hooks up with his brain to download the star charts.
Okay, so they do explain it somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine.
He absorbs the kid's personality like E.T., but he just becomes an obnoxious dick.
Yeah, it's the idea that Pee Wee Herman exists in this universe and he is like downloading.
I think it's just supposed to be he like downloaded David's youthful exuberance, but again, like we've said, David behaves like a 38-year-old incel. Like he seems to hate people.
Right.
And is always mad.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like being irritating in a Pee-wee voice makes it worse. Like he like yells at that guy for being fat.
Right, it makes it violent. Like
yes.
They come up out of that ship, and David comes out and he asks the gas station attendant, who is an obese man, for some change to use the phone to call his parents, and the guy gives him change. And the guy helps David.
Yep. And that guy's killing it, by the way.
Oh,
the
yeah,
actor
he's perfect performance. He doesn't.
Job. Yeah.
He's dumbstruck by the spaceship. So it's like a 2 or 3 minute scene where he doesn't move. He just stares at the ship, doesn't move, doesn't speak. Great performance.
Same beautiful expression. Yeah,
really solid comedic performance. But like he helps David. He helps this little boy in need, and his reward is the alien leans out, and I forget what he says.
He just fat shames.
But he calls
basically.
him fat. Like he rips like an unprovoked, really mean fat joke at this guy who just helped them.
And you're right, doing it in a Pee-wee voice does feel like violence. It makes it like
more aggressive. Like, ha ha, you fat piece of shit. Ha ha.
Yeah, it like hurts to hear.
Like, why are you speaking to me like that?
Yeah.
Oh, that guy's
you're right.
That guy's brain is like ripped doubly in half. Like, you remember Biff at the end of Back to the Future, how his life is never going to be the same?
Where he's like, what the fuck, seeing a time machine.
Right. It would be like if the time machine stopped and called him fat before travel. Yeah. Like, it would, his fucking psyche would be doubly shattered.
It's true.
Throwing 2 bricks through the window.
Yeah. And this is basically a sequence, because I think it's the halfway point he gets on the ship, I think.
I checked exactly. It is the exact halfway part that he steps onto the ship.
Right, when it should have been Act 1. Frankly, they should have... I would argue you just get rid of the time dilation completely.
Honestly, I never remember it.
Oh, I remember it. I remember it happening later in the movie and not being the first offer.
Right.
Because it's such a cryptic, creepy first offer that I'm like, this isn't fun for kids. Like, this isn't a fun...
You're hitting them straight away with...
a premise they can't quite... You have to explain how light, like, how faster than light travel works to a child.
Not even any of that.
Technically, you wouldn't age, and it's like,
not even any of that. The existential terror of what David's going through is... something kids can understand.
Right.
And you're starting the movie with an hour of this. An hour of, I have aged 10 years. It's such a weird, unique, and probably the first time you saw this movie, entirely new feeling of loss.
Yes.
Like, it's such a specific existential form of grief and tragedy. The idea of lost time.
Yeah, I feel like I mentally blocked it out. That's why I'm like,
it's such a big idea,
but it's so vague.
It's built so much around regret that I don't think it's possible for kids of a certain age to quite wrap their minds around it. But like, it's such a heavy fucking thing, and the movie is nothing but that for 48 minutes.
That's what's incredible. Is my memory of this movie is, it's that movie about the kid flying around with.
He only does it for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. He's flying around with that thing.
And then in my memory, I'm like, and there's like this moment where like he accidentally travels to the future or something, whatever, where he like accidentally, And so I thought that's like a 10-minute part of the movie. It's half of the movie. So it means that, our child brains were like, it's okay, buddy. I'm going to go ahead and erase this. Like, as you're watching it, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this memory for you.
Yeah, get this out of here. We don't need this.
Yeah, you don't need this.
I needed to make room for this star chart.
It's not only that it's this existential horror, but then at the halfway point, the alien was revealed to be the person who caused it.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to like the alien. He's like, oh yeah, I'm the guy who did this to you. Let's go have some fun, kid.
Knowing that he couldn't bring him back to his time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Still
and he
did
just
it.
needs his brain to get home.
Took him all.
Yeah,
he took him 2.2 light years across the universe to his home planet.
The villain is the alien.
He's just cataloging, like, basically, like, it sounds lofty because he's like, I'm here cataloging species. It sounds like Darwin, right?
Right.
But honestly, if you think about it from a futurism technological standpoint, what it is more likely that he is doing is creating a database for Google.
Yeah. I can see that.
He's just scraping information from the universe for Google Books or whatever,
Right, and he
Like,
doesn't care what
that's it.
happens to these things.
Nope.
Because the thing is that like I
This
don't
is remote
quite
work,
understand.
man. He got this job. He applied for this job through an email.
Yes, yes, because he's not very good at it.
No. He is a minimum wage dude doing real disgraceful work, basically. Barely legal work. He's doing call center work, basically.
It's fucked up because like it's so sloppy. Does he erase all their memories? That one alien.
I don't think he knows.
Yeah,
Like
that one alien, their
like,
planet was hit by an asteroid.
Yeah.
After he picked him up, like they're not even thinking. Like you could know. Check your star charts. You can know if a planet's doomed like that, right?
Theoretically, for millions of years. Like if you can,
Yeah.
barring any like other celestial event, you're like, well, this is going to keep moving in that direction forever.
We don't need to catalog these aliens. Or he was grabbing them real quick because they were like, fuck it.
Right, but
Let's
either
take one.
the point is like what you were saying. With all this technology, they should have known that planet was in the path of a deadly asteroid and maybe done something else.
This is almost the same plot as the Mike Flanagan VHS.
I wrote that down,
Yeah.
Dave. I wanted to say, without spoilers, I wonder if they got the idea of that from this.
Probably.
Because you know what I
watched this
didn't
and
see on that ship, Dave, were inertial dampeners.
You're right.
He just kind of puts a clumsy seatbelt on the kid. I'm like, you're moving light years.
That's the thing. So here's a question. How does he get these creatures? How did he get the kid?
We don't
So-
see how. David falls in a ravine, and that's all we ever see.
Right. We never see a teleportation device.
Nope.
We never see like giant talons come out of the ship.
Nope.
And so I have to assume it's this way. It's brain shit. He taps into their brain and lures them in.
You're right. He probably just made them walk to his spaceship.
Yeah. And then in a trance or something, put them in like, because where was David in the ship? Do you think he was because the ship
He was in the mini bar with all the other Bookins.
That's the thing is, so that's the other part of this. Is I feel like the ship is whatever it needs to be for the person in it.
It seems like it, yeah.
Are the individual aliens all having their own like roomy Flight of the Navigator room with a fucking eye being like, hey, how's it going? Like, is it like accommodating all of them this same way?
I want to say yes, because that's horrific and funny. But I feel like no, because he ends up with the cutesy little alien at the end, so they're clearly in the same reality.
So, like, when he originally was taken, though, he probably did shove him in the mini bar.
He was in the mini bar. Yes, he folded him up and stuffed him in the fridge.
Tubes going in his mouth like he's in the Matrix, like coming out his holes.
Next to some airplane bottles of Beefeater.
Yeah.
And some leftover Taco Bell.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, the kid was kidnapped. This starts with a kidnapping of a child for 8 years, and then the child's going on a wacky adventure with its kidnapper.
This is in the middle of the 80s, too. This is the height of Code Adam, Stranger Danger, all that shit. And this movie is teaching kids to go run and play in the forest at night because you might go on a magical adventure with aliens.
One of the lessons I wrote down is that if something seems scary and off, lean into it. It's fine, kids.
Gallop straight into it. Like the reason he gets abducted is he has to go find his brother in the pitch black woods in the middle of the night.
Yeah, which was, we were both kids of the 80s. I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Going off into the woods.
Oh, yeah.
But
my mom called the police more than one time.
That's just how you get your kid home.
We vanished.
Yeah. It's just amazing because it's like, I'm imagining me as a kid in the living room, cross-legged, beaming, watching this movie, and then my parents just like behind with like just the most puzzled faces, unsustained, terrified, watching this movie, just like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's got to be that kind of movie, right? As a parent, you got to watch it and go like, huh, they seem to like the movie. But
yeah, this would baffle me as a film.
Good God. Yeah. It's so fucking weird and terrifying.
Oh, man, I have a bunch of just like random things written down.
Yeah, do it.
That we can sort of go through because I think we've kind of said, well, is there more to say?
More or less. Let me see. The alien fucked the kid over. We talked about the lack of any stakes. Oh, just the mere presence of Sarah Jessica Parker really threw me off. I did not know she was in this. I did not remember that.
It's always a shock. Yeah, I forget she's in this. I conflate this movie with Project A, I think it's called, the one with Matthew Broderick and the monkeys, and also a little bit with Masters of the Universe, because it starts with Courtney Cox's parents being dead, having died in a plane crash, and there's a bit of time travel to get her parents back in that one. So I confuse the details of these a lot. But like this movie, like if this movie was released today, I could see us doing a We Just Watch talking about how cynical it is, because it's such just one of those movies that's clearly chasing trends and is expecting us to fill in all the blanks of all these things that we're pointing out that are missing.
Yes, this movie, again, I love this movie
they like robots
nostalgia.
and aliens and kids and stuff. The friendship, it'll happen. They'll fill it all in.
Well, it made me realize, because I love this movie because of the nostalgia, but it made me realize that there are a lot of shitty movies that kids you grow up with, and you're like, I love that movie, and it's like that doesn't mean it's not a shitty movie.
Yeah.
That applies today. That'll apply
That's
tomorrow.
always been true. It's a truth, a universal truth.
Yeah.
Many of the things you loved as a kid, you loved them because you were a kid.
Yeah. I really can't stress how fucked up the alien is, because I also just want to
He's a maniac. Like, again, he's a genuine sociopath.
Right. He tells the kid it'll be risky if you try this time travel. And he's like, I want to do it. And he's like, all right, fuck it. And I just imagine the version where the kid turns inside out. Right. And Max is like, shucks, and just dumps him in the swamp. Oh, right. And then that's it. The kid's body is found in the swamp.
Right. Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah,
that's like they
literally a serial killer.
Well, it's because you're describing. I mentioned Code Adam earlier. You're describing the murder of Adam Walsh. Like, so it's just anyway.
This is what happened with Joan Benet Ramsey.
This is what happens to kids in the 80s.
Yeah, this is all the serial murderers were just Flight of the Navigator.
Well, I would. If it was like presented in the tone of like this movie where it's like, let's do it, and he's like, okay, strap in, and like feeling the music starts playing like bum 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 bum, and then like he hits the hyperdrive button and just instantly the kid is liquid.
It's the same joke that everybody's always mad.
Synth pop is playing,
and
he's doing his Pee Wee Herman laugh.
No, it's the same joke of the guy coming and being like, you're a wizard, come with me. And then just, trash bags in the woods, where it's like, don't go with that man. Don't go with that man.
Did you ever see the South Park episode, Child Abduction is Not Funny?
Yeah, I think so.
Where it's Tweak is, I think it's Butters, actually. Butters is being visited by the ghost of human kindness.
Right.
And then, the reveal at the end is he casts him to get in his van.
Yes. It's that shit. This is a haunting. This is, man.
It's such a weird movie.
This I hate that we're getting so dark with it, but also I have no regret.
Well, this is the
story. This is the story that the other brother would tell himself about what happened to his brother. Yeah. This is the story that David Duchovny wrote for himself. Aspirational. This is the story Mulder tells about his sister.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. Sorry. All right.
Here's what do you got? A grab bag of random stuff. When David escapes in the robot and is just driving across the hangar very slowly for what seems like hours.
No one cares.
What if they open it up and he's just suffocated in there?
The alien's like, shucks.
Shit. They just turn it around and send it to a different, That's like
a sketch, like that sequence of like the 80s music, and you see the robot driving around.
That's a great wait. That's a great sketch. Everybody just keeps sending it to somebody else because nobody wants to be the person who found the dead kid. So it's just this robot driving back.
Keeps going back.
Yep.
Shot of the sunset with the robot. People giving it a thumbs up, being like, "What's up, robot?"
Ah, man, we should add a tier where we get to make sketches.
Yeah, I know.
One of the guards at the hangar has a Tom Savini mustache. I just have that written down.
Sure.
The kid says, "Wow, how'd you do that?" in response to the alien traveling down 20 miles in a straight line. And then the alien says, "That's a third-class maneuver." The kid says, "Wow, if that's a third-class maneuver, what's the first-class maneuver?" Again, the alien went down in a straight line.
It's gravity. He's describing gravity.
I could have done nothing, and we would have fallen.
Yeah, kid, I can do that. I can do what the alien did.
If you brought me up to the upper atmosphere and let me go, I would also engage a third-class maneuver, traveling straight down for 20 miles.
Yeah, and then some.
The alien brags about being able to speak 1 billion languages and analyze animals light years beyond our own, but when David says, "I need to go to the bathroom," the alien says, "Don't know, bathroom." Later on, the alien says, "Don't know music," after he sang the Rice-A-Roni jingle a scene ago.
You're right. He's just gaslighting this kid.
Let's see. When Sarah Jessica Parker goes to visit the family at their house and NASA shows up to arrest them because NASA's the bad guy in this movie.
Yes.
Sarah Jessica Parker asks the mother, who we haven't mentioned is Veronica Cartwright.
Yes, which is like stunt casting. It feels like.
I guess, for like all the 9-year-olds. Yeah, it's Lambert from Alien. You know, it's an Alien movie. She's at it again. He asks her if she has a back door, and she says, "Yes, back there."
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah, the back. It was almost, "Do you have a back door?" Yes, it's in the back. It's almost an airplane line.
It almost is.
And we already talked about this, but they barely go on 30 minutes of an adventure, and it's just flying aimlessly around the world.
Yeah, stopping to piss on cows, piss in a cow field. Like, it really is
a lot of attention is paid to this little boy's nude body. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yes, it's weird. It's also just like they don't. So the plot is we need to get back home. That's it. And this alien apparently has bad navigational charts. I guess like it has star charts.
He can't get anywhere.
But it's just a road trip movie, basically.
Sort of, yeah.
Where they're flying just a little bit above the roads. They literally at one point are checking highway signs.
Right, they follow the highway to Florida, and it's like you're in a goddamn spaceship.
So I do kind of like this idea, which is like if you had the power of flight like Superman, that doesn't mean you have the power of navigating. You don't have the power of navigation,
yeah. But
so
he's supposed to be the flight of the Navigator, Dave.
Exactly.
And his big idea is let's find the highway.
It's such an offer, which is like, so does he ever get the star charts from his brain?
Yeah, he downloads them. That's when he becomes Pee Wee Herman.
Oh yeah, okay. Because I gotta say, the offer of this movie is so not what the movie gives us, which is like, you're the special boy. You have star charts in your brain. I need you to navigate the stars.
And then none of that happens.
Let's go to Florida.
We don't go to the stars. We don't go to his home planet. We just kind of fly to Florida.
Yeah, we just never leave the atmosphere and go to Florida, and then I drop you off and go, okay, bye.
We fly.
And that's the fucking movie.
Right. They fly about the height of a Cessna above the ground at all times. They don't fly higher than a news helicopter at any time.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the flight. That's the flight of the Navigator.
Right?
He does. I hope not.
Hold on, I'm looking this up. I could have sworn this was.
I could see this as a book. The pacing of this makes way more sense as a book.
All right, I'm not seeing it based off a book, so maybe not. It just felt like it could have been.
That's more ammo for your Michael Crichton writing a kid's book theory. Like this is how he would pace a children's book about a magical alien friend, is he would tease it like a suspenseful reveal.
Well, that's the thing. So this felt like a book that was adapted wrong, but it's not. I looked it up. It's not. It doesn't come from a book. It just feels like it comes from a fucking book.
Right, because it's paced so unevenly.
Yeah, because it feels like a book with a bunch of heady sci-fi stuff that they like boiled down to this. But like, no, that's a no. It is. I don't know what they thought it was, because like you could see the idea of like the beginning of the book being this, and then he goes off to space and has adventures. Like it feels like that was what they started with, the idea of like, the kid goes off, and then,
I think they just started with let's make an ET and a Star Wars.
Yeah, I guess so.
And let's throw some Back to the Future in there because that hit last year.
Right, but it's just so funny that it's like if Back to the Future never traveled through time. If it was like just this like road trip,
it's like
with
if they talked about traveling through time the entire movie and the actual time travel happened off screen in the beginning.
Yes, because that's the thing is like this. The offer of this movie is, what if a little boy has a spaceship that's just his? It's like, well, you'd go to space. That's what you'd do. You'd have a space adventure.
You'd at least,
and they don't never do that.
You would at least go to fucking Disneyland, and it's a Disney movie.
You do something.
You would do something that a 12-year-old boy would do with a spaceship.
But all he does is try to fly home.
Yeah.
That's it.
All he does is collect stock footage for nature documentaries and then go to Florida.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like,
Florida.
hey, Max, let's recreate the opening shot of The Shining 48 times.
Yeah.
Which, in fairness, is one of the things I would do with a spaceship.
I would do too.
Yeah.
But I would not go to Florida. Of all the places to
I
go.
would blast it from interstellar speakers as I was flying. Brr, 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 brr. I'm just like
amazing.
cruising.
That'd be so good.
And I would do it for days without explanation. So the news would be like, we're entering the 5th day of this strange alien invasion. Where it's just seems to be doing the opening from The Shining over and over again.
You know, the person who did that opening also did the Clockwork Orange theme. So, which is it's a cover of the Clockwork Orange theme, I believe, of a Beethoven. But
yeah,
it's just some creep with a keyboard. I just like that person is like, I'm doing 2 themes with my little keyboard here, and they're both going to be the most haunting themes ever, and then I'm out.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the way it works, right? Like John Carpenter in the Halloween theme, and then the Jaws theme when the
Jaws theme was the funniest.
When John Williams showed Steven Spielberg the Jaws theme, he laughed.
Yeah, and he was like, "Okay, well, what's the real thing?"
It's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
You're paying me for this.
It's 2 notes. Are you fucking joking? Anyway,
play the Navigator.
let me see if I have anything else. The NASA Research Center they drive this kid to has a sign that says this site is protected by a bad dog.
Oh yeah,
yeah, but isn't it also defended by men with guns? Like, I'm sure the dog's very bad, but
I don't know what NASA
I think it's the
deal is.
gun. They definitely have men with guns.
They definitely do. I just mean their deal in general. They also have the ability to track
maybe the dog has a gun. Maybe
world.
That's why the dog is so bad.
Right.
Anyway, sorry.
They track the spaceship all over the world. They're like a chorus where but that's the other thing. Every scene where something happens, they cut to NASA saying the thing we just saw happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seemed to go up in the air really high. It went back down.
Right, they have to show us scientists being constantly amazed by it, because what they're actually showing us is not particularly amazing.
Yeah. God damn.
I like that this top... I already got that one. Never mind. That's about hiring bubblegum teen Sarah Jessica Parker. Spying on the sailboat. We did this one.
Yep.
I mean, this is just... I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said this. I said his little brother's trying to get raped, but we all played in the woods at night as kids in the 80s.
This movie is out of its mind, folks.
This movie is so deranged. Like,
I love this movie.
Not like obviously so. Like you have to, like, this movie is just so off.
Subtly haunting.
Just so off. Yeah. It feels really, you'll be surprised at if this is a movie you remember fondly, you'll be surprised at how it actually squares up with your memory. It's such such a weird movie.
This is one of those movies that you put on for your kid. Like, I remember Flight of the Navigator. That was great. And you put on for your kid, and the kid's like, what is this? The fuck is going on?
I'm going through that now because I'm putting stuff on for the baby she's now old enough to, like, begin to understand sort of what's happening. So, like, I'm watching movies with that sort of eye now. And it's like, so many kids' movies, you're like, within 3 minutes, like, what the fuck is this? Like,
right. Oh yeah, and kids, you never know what's going to fuck them up.
Right?
So
yeah. It's hard enough trying to find something that doesn't have any conflict in it because she's just 6 months old.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those kids movies where you're just like, nobody was paying attention to them, so they just did whatever.
Yeah, they didn't give a fuck.
I don't think it's harmful for kids, by the way. I think every kid should have to watch this.
Oh, by law.
It teaches you some very important truths about the world.
Yes. Like a child abduction is magical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always
My
funny.
God.
It's always funny.
It's always funny. Never not funny.
It's never not funny.
All right. Vincent, thank you so much. I think we're all done,
I
right?
think we're all set. Yeah, that's all my notes.
My goodness. This is through our Patreon.
It was.
Patreon.com/gamefully unemployed. GAMEFULLY unemployed. You can get custom We Just Watched episodes on our Patreon. That's how this happened. That's how Vincent was able to have us watch Flight of the Navigator. But there's also exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. Those are all there for $5 a month. Just $5 a month. For a little more, you can watch movies with us every Friday night. This is probably a movie we'd watch. Yeah, to give you a feel for the vibe of our Friday night movie nights. This is the kind of shit we'd watch.
We tend to look for forgotten time capsules.
Yeah.
We try to go obscure. But every now and then we watch something like Mad Max Fury Road. Just sit quietly, watch a nice movie.
Yeah, take a break.
Not watch an awesome movie. We have watched Jaws before. Speaking of Jaws. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store. We have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs by great artists like Starlene Hodge, Michael Vincent Bramley, Justin Brown. Very funny stuff. Great Mulder stuff. Great Batman stuff.
Yes.
There's one of Mulder staking Batman through the heart. Check it out. There's funny stuff in there drawn by very talented artists.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm pushing it so hard this week. I just want to highlight our artists. We don't make any money off of it. I just like highlighting the great art that these artists do.
We really don't.
We rate merchandise.
We make
folks,
like a fucking $1 every time you buy something.
Merchandise is a losing battle for pretty much any organization. We just do it because it's fun. Yeah. But anyway, check out some of that great art and check out our new show, Batical. Infrequently updated because I have a small baby, as I mentioned, but it's being updated still technically in the first season. There will be more episodes very soon. Check that out. I think we're done.
If you see if you're in a swamp in the woods, you go in there. The answers always go in there.
The answers always go in there, yeah.
If you feel like this dread in your stomach and your body's telling you not to go in there anyway. There might be candy or magic.
Yeah. Both.
Yeah.
Candy magic. Yeah. Magical candy. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's inside that spaceship that has 4 wheels and a sliding door. Bye.
Hey, listen, our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You can find him on twitter.com as the Corlew or go to shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our channel artwork is produced by Michael Vincent Bramley. For more of his work, go to mvbramley.art. Our episode artwork is by Justin Brown, available on Twitter as Justin T. Brown or at artnessbyjustinbrown.com. And finally, additional artwork is by Starlene Hodge. You can find her work at starlenearts.com or on Twitter as StarleneX. Cool. Goodbye.